Welcome back. Welcome back. It's the FireZone coming at you. Week 1, just a few days away for the Ravens. Dallas and Tampa Bay actually playing tonight as we speak. But it's me, Mike Crawford, joined as always by Dennard Melton. We're going to get into, obviously, the Ravens game versus the Raiders from a defensive perspective, some matchups we're looking at, some other thoughts that we have on our mind. Got to, unfortunately, talk about injuries. It sucks, but we're going to have to do that. But before we do any of that, how's it going, Dennard? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. It's been an interesting day around in Ravens Twitterverse, but I think my last tweet earlier, I was talking basically big picture, trying to look at things in the big picture, and just keep that in mind. Keep positive. We'll get into this, but yeah, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about a little bit before we started recording. In the moment, it's a bummer. It blows to lose two guys like that and Marcus Peters. So we'll just get right into it. Marcus Peters and Gus Edwards will reportedly earlier today in practice suffered, significant knee, what they call significant knee injuries. And then just probably within the last hour tonight, Adam Schefter tweeted and confirmed, tests confirmed that both guys have torn their ACLs and they're out for the year. So we hadn't recorded since before the last preseason game. Obviously, JK ends up suffering an ACL tear in that game. He's out for the season. Justice Hill tears his Achilles in a practice after that game. He's out for the year. And then today, in the same practice, both Gus and Juice Man suffered torn ACL. So it's a bummer, like I was saying. And in the moment, you think about those guys and the kind of seasons that you were hoping they were going to have. And, now you're not going to get a chance to see that. But we were just saying, NFL's not canceling the season for the Ravens. You still got to go out there and play. The Raiders aren't feeling sorry for you in any kind of way. Nope. And you still got a locker room full of grown men who got a job to do and got things that they want to accomplish and get done this year. So for them, yeah, obviously they're going to miss their teammates and they wish them, speedy recovery and all of that. But they got to stay locked in, right?
Absolutely. That's the name of the game. It's you've got less than 24 hours to process. And as a coach, you got less than 5 hours to process the whole thing. You've got to, obviously Peters was a very big part of the game plan, but that's the beautiful part of practice. That's the beautiful part of having depth. And everyone talks about how next man up doesn't mean much because then you're missing your top starters. But this is where the scouts, the coaches, other players pick up a person like Anthony Avert, and you basically say, "This is your time. Mm-hmm. This is what you have been laying the groundwork for the last 4 years." And if I'm not mistaken, it's a contract year. Mm. Motivate.
Hey, nothing speaks louder than the dollar. Wu-Tang said it best. Cash rules everything around me.
Straight cash, homie.
Yeah, and so we understand that. But yeah, no, to your point, people will say that kind of thing is coach speak. It doesn't really, it's not going to be the same. You're not going to have the same caliber of player in there. And yeah, nobody's going to say Anthony Avert is going to step in there and be Marcus Peters. Nobody's saying that, but somebody's got to play. Somebody's got to play. And this is an opportunity for whoever that next person is, or next couple people, if it's a rotational kind of thing, whatever that looks like. This is an opportunity for them to show, what they can do in a larger role. Aver's played, so it's not like he hasn't played. Right. But, now he's probably going to get more time, an extended opportunity to play. And it's a domino effect, right? Because, he was a reserve at some level, or maybe he was going to be in some packages or whatever. But now, whatever that role was, now somebody has to take that role because he's stepping into a starter's role. So it's going to create that domino effect of opportunity. And that's how I try to look at it. Like, yeah, in the moment, like you said, you give yourself some time, sucks, bummed out, whatever. But then it's like, all right, we got to play this game, and you got to get guys ready to play. And so, you got to keep it moving. So Averett looks like that guy who's going to get that opportunity. We'll see what they actually do on Monday night in terms of who's out there in different packages or whatever. But, based on history, when they've had injuries at that outside corner spot, and it wasn't Marlon, it was somebody other than Marlon. Averett has been the guy who's been, kind of the first in to get those snaps. Now, it's a defensive show, but I think we do have to touch a little bit on Gus Edwards, because now, you go from JK, who you were expecting to be, kind of your lead back this year. He's out. Now Gus becomes your lead back. Now he's out. And the Ravens obviously have signed a couple of guys, names people might have heard of over the last couple of days, in Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman. Maybe not Trenton Cannon as much. They might not know that name a little bit. He's kind of probably going to have more of a special teams role. Looks pretty good on special teams from what I've seen. But let me give you the floor to talk about running back a little bit with the guys that they've brought in.
So I'm gonna start by saying that running backs, I'm not devaluing running backs by no means. I played this position in high school. I understand the physical toll. This team was built to sustain injuries in one spot, and it just happened to be running back. And I feel like sometimes we all do this at any level, in high school, college, pro. We watch the game as a fan. We fall in love with potential. And we saw 7 games of JK. Okay. That's 7 games of the NFL. He was going to step into the role as a leader back, but you never know what that's going to be because you were looking at potential. Same thing with Gus Edwards. In a different sense, is, yes, Gus is a cult hero around here, and Gus has shown that he has the potential to be a lead back. He also got 3 years, $8 million. And the last time I checked, not so much what you value a top 5 or top 10 running back. So, like I said, I'm not devaluing them. I'm not looking at them differently. I'm just saying we have to look at this as a big picture. You're bringing in a guy like Bell and Freeman and possibly Murray, depending on how this works out. You're bringing in guys who have track records. I'm not saying Le'Veon Bell is 2017 Le'Veon Bell. I'm not saying Devontae Freeman is 2017 Devontae Freeman. But I got 2 of them. And I can put 2 together to get me what I need to get. Which is somewhere around 1,500 yards on the ground and maybe 500 in the air. And as a coach, I got to look at it like that, almost in a Moneyball kind of sense. What do I need to get to keep the ball moving and doing things that are necessary to keep the offense rolling? Now, let's not forget, we do have an MVP on this team. So, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about Le'Veon Bell. I think everybody is kind of giving it a little bit of a bad rep. We've looked at Le'Veon Bell in a microscope over the last 3 years of his career. But we don't step back and look at the big picture. Where did Le'Veon Bell come from? He came from a Pittsburgh offense that basically was designed for him to touch the ball anywhere from 400 to 500 times a year in some shape or form. Yep. And he felt like he should be paid in a way, as a man, he felt like he should be taken care of by an organization that he spent many years doing what he did. So when that organization said, no, and then started kind of leaking stuff about him that is no one else's business but that team and in that building. So as this man decided to go into free agency and flex his muscle, I think he earned a lot of respect around the league in terms of running backs and saying, I will stand out here no matter what and take the bullets for something I believe in. So I respect that wholeheartedly. Now, what the Jets purchased, that's on the Jets. Le'Veon was not in the space after what happened to him in Pittsburgh. And let's not sugarcoat the fact that the Jets are not really the greatest organization. No, and we've heard now that Pittsburgh really is not that keen on giving up front guaranteed money. And TJ Watt basically had to do a sit-in in training camp to get paid.
Yeah.
So let's remember where this guy has been and what he's been through. And to say, well, Andy Reid got rid of him. Once again, when football, reality, and life meet, it can change a man's life and understand what the real value is. And I believe Le'Veon Bell, once he left Kansas City, I think it finally sunk in. And the Le'Veon Bell I saw in Kansas City, he may not be in football shape, but I can tell he's about 15 pounds lighter than what he was in Kansas City. So for me, I think it's a win-win. I think it'll take him a couple weeks to get up to speed in terms of conditioning. But isn't it interesting? The Ravens have put in under center attack with pulling guards and being a power football team and maybe have one of the best power running backs to play in this league who's got a big chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just think back, and you said it at the top. Nobody's saying that you're getting 2017 Le'Veon Bell. But you think about those years, right? His best years in Pittsburgh, 2016, 2017. You think about all the yards. I think he went over 1,200 yards each of those seasons, had 75 catches in one of them, 85 catches in the other. You know, that was part of the reason that he chose to sit out too. He said, hey, look, I'm basically playing two different positions, playing running back and slot receiver, and I'm trying to get paid, you know, accordingly. And, you know, so I can't fault him for that. Cause I mean, look, from the player's perspective, and I used to work for an agent way back in the day, but his thing was always like, look, you have to know your value. Number one, you as a player, you have to know your value and you have to pursue it like with no remorse. You can't be catching feelings or the team says this or the media saying that. No, once you know your value, you got to go after it like nobody's business.
Right.
And, you know, whatever, you know, is going to come as you pursue that, it is what it is. So, you know, I'm never going to fault guys for doing that, because we've seen what can happen from the team perspective when they need to make a business decision. All that loyalty talk, all that is about team, is all about the team. That's gone. It's out the window. So I'll never fault these guys. But yeah, I think just the last thing I'll say about it, because, you know, I know we want to get on to the defense. You got two veteran professional running backs, right? And you can say they're not in their primes, they're not who they used to be. That's all true. But they know how to run the ball in the NFL. They understand pass protection. You know, they know these things, right? You're not bringing in young guys. They got a young guy in Tyson Williams who showed, you know, a lot of promise this preseason. And, you know, he's going to get some opportunities too. But these guys, established vets who know what it means to be an NFL running back. So, I mean, I think that counts for something. You know, we'll see how much it counts for, but I think in my book, it counts for a lot. Other people may say, yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how much it counts for. And that's probably a safer approach. But to me, that presence, that experience, you know, that counts for a lot. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, on to the defense. Now, the other thing I should mention about the injury front, just practice report for today. Obviously, I think they got two more. I think they're going to practice Friday. I think they'll get one more in Saturday. Derek Wolfe didn't practice today, and I think Dalen Hayes was limited.
That is
and we talked about Derek Wolfe. You and I talked before we started recording. And somebody out there can drop it in the comments or hit us up on Twitter if I'm wrong about it. But I think he has not practiced since that Panthers, those joint practices with the Panthers. I think that's where he suffered the injury to his back. It said back/hip on the injury report. I don't think he's practiced since then. Obviously, Nick Boyle, who didn't practice, that was expected. You know, he's still been progressing. So I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. I think Jimmy got in a practice, you know, out there, like I joked earlier, getting some conditioning. we're not really sure if we're going to see him in this game or not, but he might, because Harbaugh said he might need a couple of weeks
at a minimum
to get back, you know, to where he needs to be. So just as a little snapshot on the practice report. As always, you know, you can monitor that. You can go to the team's website. You can go on Twitter, Google it, whatever. You'll see it. They put it out, you know, some point in the day after practice. So always a good idea to keep an eye on that. But anyway, on to the game. So week 1, first game of the season, on the road in LA. Raiders, and this surprised me. I was doing some research on them, just trying to get familiar, because I didn't watch them much last year, a little bit, but not much. I did not realize that they were 10th in scoring on offense last year, 27 points a game. It's pretty good stuff there. We're talking about defense from the Ravens' perspective, so we're not really going to get into the Raiders' defense, but they were 30th in points allowed last year, right around 29, almost 30 points a game. So not great for them on that side of the ball. But anyway, we're not focusing on that. So pretty good offense last year, right, in terms of scoring. We know John Gruden been designing offense forever. Been around, knows that game for a long, long time. We know some of the players, Derek Carr at QB, Darren Waller. Obviously, people who were Ravens fans know that story and what he's turned out to be and is continuing to develop into as one of the top tight ends in the game. They've got Josh Jacobs at running back, brought in Kenyon Drake from Arizona over the offseason. A couple young wide receivers and Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, third and Renfrow, as they call him out there, Brian Edwards, and then Zay Jones, who'd been with the Bills, and I forget who he was after he left the Bills. And then Willie Snead, another guy Ravens are familiar with, Willie out there doing his thing. So that's kind of just an overview. And then, you know, the offensive line, kind of a mix, right? I think Richie Cognito still out there at left guard, even though there's some concern as to whether he's going to play or not. He hasn't been practicing in a while, didn't practice today. So that a little bit concerned from the Raiders standpoint. Colt Miller at left tackle kind of had a rough rookie year a couple seasons back, but seems like he's kind of settled down a little bit over the last season or two at left tackle. And then from the center over to the right side is where I think, you know, things are a little bit more, they're a little newer for the Raiders. You got Andre James at center. You remember they had Rodney Hudson there for a long time, one of the best centers in the game. He's moved on. So you got Andre James. I think he's been around since 2018, but hasn't had, large opportunities to start. I think he played a couple games for them last year, maybe 2 games. Then you got Denzel Good, who's kind of been career, sort of reserve swing guy, swing guard, swing tackle, can play both. And then the rookie at right tackle out of Alabama, Alex Leatherwood. And so, that side of the O-line is one that I think is probably going to be tested by the Ravens. But I kind of wanted to just lay that out, give the listeners kind of an overview. Yeah. give the listeners kind of an overview of their offensive personnel. Just, kind of the headliners. Obviously, they got other guys who are going to sub in different situations. But for you, what's a matchup, 1 or 2? And we talked about this. We can kind of do a couple of rounds of this if we want. What's a matchup in your mind that you'll be, sort of focusing in on and or interested to see?
So the 2 matchups I'm looking at is obviously the Waller matchup, who they're going to play on him, how they're going to play with him. And then the second one is how Queen handles the screen game. John Gruden's going to test him. He's got some tricks in his bag. Not as ridiculous as Andy Reid, but enough to make your head kind of spin. So that'll be definitely something I want to, hone in on and continue to see the growth with Queen and his ability to identify and understand what is happening inside of the offense, inside of the game plan that the the Las Vegas Raiders are trying to do. And then when it comes to Waller, to me, the best matchup would be Stevens. When you look at the Ravens secondary, they have aggressive, ball hawks, fundamentals. I mean, they got everything but a supreme athlete. I think Stevens is that guy. I think he's the type of guy who can run with Waller, who can jump with Waller. I'm not asking him to be physical with Waller. I need him to make every catch a 10 BAL, 10 difficulty on the scale. I need Waller to work. If Waller is going to get 10 catches, I need 10 catches for 72 yards. I don't care. It's not about stopping Waller. It's about making sure that when he's involved, that it's not a big play. And I think those are the 2 biggest things I'm watching out for.
Nothing cheap, nothing deep, as they say. And we had a fun debate about that earlier today. So I'll share my side of it. I like Stevens. That's a whole nother thing. People who've listened to some of the previous episodes know we have a little friendly wager about Brandon Stevens and how his role is going to evolve over the course of this season. Obviously, I'm a big Deshaun Elliott guy. But anyway, we'll set that aside. But no, the thing that I do like about that, the point that you're making about Stevens is, from an athletic standpoint, you see everything that you just said, right? All him being able to do all of that. We see that just in terms of how he moves. I mean, you and I talked about it just watching some of his clips from SMU when they drafted him. He looks like a DB, right? I know they say he played running back at UCLA and he came to SMU and walked on. He moves like a DB on the field. He doesn't look like a running back playing DB. He looks like a DB. And so, yeah, I think athletically he's up to that challenge for sure. And I think the other thing that kind of supports what you're saying is if you go back to the beginning of last year, And they only had this for the Browns game and about almost the entire first quarter of the Texans game. Tavon got hurt somewhere late end of Q1, first quarter. When they had Jimmy and Tavon both healthy, they did this in the Browns and they did it with the Texans. When it was 11 personnel, one running back, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, Tavon was out there. When it was 12 personnel, it was Jimmy, right? They were using Jimmy to be that with that matchup on that second one of the 2 tight ends, whoever your best tight end was, he was your matchup guy on that tight end. And you've talked since they drafted Stevens that he was going to become that guy. He was going to be the matchup guy, right? Mm-hmm. On some of these more athletic tight ends in the league. So all of that, I think, supports what you just said and what you would like to see. My only point was in limited situations, right? Like I call them high leverage situations. So we're talking third down when you got to pass, right? So it's obvious passing situation on third down and maybe the red zone. So those 2 situations, third down and red zone, and you're going to play man. I know I'm putting a lot of stipulations on it, but this is what it was. So high leverage, playing man-to-man coverage. I would like to see Humphrey on him in those situations because I think Humphrey, and it's the opposite of what you said with Stevens. I think Humphrey is going to try to be physical and try to beat him up at the line of scrimmage. Now he's going to contest at the catch point too. We know that. We know he does that. I mean, nobody punches more balls out than that dude. But it's different, right? He would contest it in a different way than Stevens would contest it. But I like that idea of in those situations, I want to get real physical with that dude and just try to throw off the timing because I think that's a big part of Gruden's passing game. You talked about him not being quite Andy Reid, but they're off that same tree. They go back to those really 49er days, way back. And so they're off that same West Coast tree. And we know how important timing is in that passing game, right? The route depths, route breaks all sync up with the quarterback's drop and all of that. So if I can throw off that timing by getting physical with him at the line of scrimmage where the quarterback, he's getting back, he hits the top of his drop, he hits whatever his last step is, and Waller isn't where he expects him to be, because he done got Thanos at the line of the scrimmage by Marlon. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. But, you made a good counterpoint to that and you talked about it when you were just talking about Stevens. We say, I don't need to beat him up. I don't need to get physical with him off the line of scrimmage. I need to make every catch a 10-round fight. It's just not going to be easy.
And just to kind of follow up on that is, I don't need him to know the whole game plan. I just give him one job. When he comes into the game, you've got Waller. And my defense can still function. I can still throw zone behind that. I can run a guy underneath of him. I can bracket him. I can show Derek Carr different looks without taking away my advantage on the outside with Humphrey and Avert. Yeah. And then just to kind of touch on the red zone thing, I get that wholeheartedly. Beat him up, timing down there is an essence. And I agree. Throw that in as a sprinkle if you want to. I also think that in the red zone, it's a lot easier to make outside throws. And I want Humphrey out there.
Yeah.
I can take 8 guys in a box and make everything look horribly wrong with Waller anywhere out there except to him out wide. Now, if you didn't want to put him out wide, I got Humphrey out there.
Yeah, different story.
So
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because they do have one guy, and maybe more than one guy, but this is the guy, at least on paper, body type, all of that. Brian Edwards, right? Came out of South Carolina, hurt his ankle last year, missed a bunch of time, really didn't get a lot of opportunity to play in games last year. But he's that X body type, right? If you think about old school West Coast offense roles, he would be your X. Ruggs is probably your Z. Speed guy, take the top off. Renfro's that F guy in the slot, quick twitch, whatever. So you got this big dude in Edwards. And if anybody were to go back and look at his film from South Carolina, he was a big dog. That's how he played as a wide receiver. He was going to big dog people. So you probably don't want to take Humphrey away from that guy in the red zone.
Right.
You probably want to have Humphrey to match up with that guy in the red zone. So for on that, if they do that, then I'm with you, because if they're gonna keep Waller inside and not split him out in that situation, yeah, we got enough bodies inside. We can make you go outside,
right,
with the ball. We can do that. Okay, so two other things I want to touch on, and we'll go through these because we try to keep these short, right around 35 minutes. Get people in, give them good information, get them out. Right.
Yep.
You can relate to that. Back in the day, you're going into meetings. Hey, let's get in here, get what we need, let's get out.
Some of those meetings. Oh my goodness. You'd be sitting there watching tape, you'd be like, didn't we just watch this for 3 hours? No.
And they say, a lot of coaches like to hear themselves talk, right? They like to listen to themselves and they like to talk. And that's probably me. I'm not a coach, but that's probably
I gotta tell
but anyway.
Quick story.
Go ahead.
Mickey Matthews, JMU, we just forget the game we played. It might have been Villanova or something. We always had special teams meetings before we broke out to watch our individuals after Saturday games. So, this was a particularly bad special teams day. Like there was just stuff that just went all wrong. We still won, but it was just everything was going wrong. He walked up to the tape. And it was the funniest thing I ever watched. The kickoff goes off. It was horrible. They return it for a touchdown. He goes back up to the tape. He says, Coach, put it back up there. Rise it back up there. He watched it, and nobody said anything. He did this for 5 minutes. We were all in there just watching him. He's like, run it again. Run it again. And he's doing this for 5 minutes. We're all in there like, oh, my goodness, here it goes. And he walks up to the tape. He goes, you're fired. You're fired. You're fired. He fired the entire kickoff, one person at a time. We all lost it. He literally fired every last one of the guys individually what they were doing wrong. You're fired. You're fired.
And they got a chance to see it because it sounded like he kept showing it. He was going one by one. He's like, hold on, let me put it back up there so I can show what you did. Okay, next guy, put it back up there. Let me show you what you did. You fired. And you just go down the line until you get them all. Yeah, he was thorough. He was very thorough. So I won't do that. I won't keep putting it back up there. I'm gonna try to go like lightning round style on this, and we'll just hit like 2-3 things real quick. I'm just gonna ask you and get your thoughts. All right, Hunter Renfrow. What's your plan for him?
My plan for him is a mixture of Tavon Young and a lot of Bowser, a lot of Strops, a lot of just mixing it up because he's so good and sitting in zone. So I just gotta have Tavon literally just man up on him, and that's one I might want to beat up at the line of scrimmage.
All right, I'm gonna do one more wide receiver one, then we're gonna get into running back to the running game because I know how important that is to you. I don't think these guys are that hard. These types of guys are that hard for the Ravens secondary to defend. But anytime that there's speed, I know as a defensive coordinator, speed is what worries you. So one of the things that worries you when it comes to the passing game. So you got Henry Ruggs, right? This is legit speed, right? This is legit. This dude can go. Take the top off kind of guy. When he's out there, is that like an alert situation for you, depending on where he's lined up? You're like, hey, we got speed over here.
Yeah, you're always alert. Everybody knows where he is, but you don't pay attention because your defense should take care of it. Yeah. It's the guys who run all the crossing routes and other crap that's going to bother you all day.
All right, run game. Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, a little bit of a two-headed monster thing. Kenyon Drake might be more the third down guy. But Josh Jacobs, not afraid to hit it up in there.
Right.
We were talking about this earlier today, and I shared this stat with you where over the last 2 years, we're looking at, as Lamar has been the starting quarterback. When the Ravens defense holds teams in the running game, right? That's what we're talking about. He holds them under 3 yards or less, 3 yards per carry or less. They win those games. They have not lost a game other than 2. We saw 2 games where they held the team under 3 yards per carry and they lost, and that was primarily because of turnovers. One of them was the first Pittsburgh game last year where they had 4 turnovers, right? And Lamar threw a pick 6 to their linebacker. And the other one was the Bills game where they only had 1 turnover, but it was a pick 6. So the key there is keep them under 3 yards per carry and don't throw pick 6s, and you'll win.
Yeah,
so what do you do? What's your plan for dealing with these 2 dudes?
My plan is every defensive coordinator's first thing: stop the run. I want to do it with 7 in the box, and my game plan is going to be set up that way. And I'm going to tell my guys, if I have to put 8 in the box, I'm going to shoot you all. I'm serious about this because there's certain games like Cleveland, I'm expecting to put 8, 9 in the box. At some point, as a game, I'm going to put 8 and 9 in the box. I understand that. I got a game plan for that.
With Chubb. You got to deal with him.
I'm going to deal with that. There's other games like that. I'm going to put 8 in the box. I understand that. This is a game I cannot put 8 in the box. And that's going to be the first message I'm putting out there. Because once I do that, it's going to be a 38-35 shootout. Because I, as a defensive coordinator, can't call a game. I got to figure out a mess that should have never happened because we're playing a team with an offensive line that should not have any control of the offensive defensive line with the front 7 I have. With the front 4 I can put out there, we going to run on Tuesday if that's the case.
Yeah. Then that might be one of those situations where you keep throwing it back up there.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders come out throwing to try to run later. Yeah. I will see quick screens. I will see bubble screens. I will anticipate everything going lateral. And then they're going to throw a pump fake and try to hit Henry Ruggs to kind of show out.
Yeah.
And I think from last year watching Waller a lot on highlights, they run a lot of corner routes with him. Ton. Yeah. Staple in their offense.
All right.
So
I like that plan. I like stopping the run with the front 7, because, we're not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but our front 7 should be better than their O-line.
Yes.
We should be better than them. Okay, last thing, and then we'll get out. And I think this shows up when offenses who don't play the Ravens regularly, I think this shows up a lot. When you don't see the kind of looks that Wink throws out there on a regular basis, right? Obviously, the teams in the division, they see it. But when you don't see it a lot, you don't see it often. We've seen those games. They're conference games, but they're out of division. And you see them every year, whether, you can go back a couple of years. Remember when the Texans came to Baltimore, you can see, and it's just like, it's a nightmare for those offensive lines because they're not used to seeing this on a regular basis. So I'm thinking that's going to be difficult for the Raiders to prepare for because they don't see that look on a regular basis.
You don't see the look. You can't replicate it. I think the other thing about this is Derek Carr has not taken a snap all preseason. Mm-hmm. The Raiders' defense has been in flux all preseason. I mean, they've got KJ Wright as their starting strong side linebacker. He's been in town for a week and a half.
Yeah, just signed him not long ago.
So You're not getting those type of looks because those guys are learning still.
Right.
So you're asking Derek Carr to go out there with no live snaps and face a defense that may just feel like messing with you all night. And they may look like they're bringing 8, but they only bringing like 4 or 2. Yeah. Or they might bring all 8 because they just might be just pissed off for the day.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's going to be big. I always think that shows up big when they get into those third down and medium third down and long passing situations. You let him put 8 guys, 9 dudes up there, and it just becomes chaos. Yeah, it just becomes chaos.
Up.
It becomes chaos.
There, you're like, who's coming? What's coming? Where they're coming? And next thing you know, there's 6 guys coming, but 3 guys are dropping. You're like, that don't.
Yeah. And we talked about, a rookie right tackle. I mean, it's just Justin Houston. I mean, there's a lot of things that they're going to have to deal with. But we'll leave it there. I think we'll leave it there. I think we've kind of touched on, kind of all of the high level, bases, the things that we're looking for, the things that we expect. Despite, how things kind of happened today with the injuries, I'm still optimistic about this game. I'm still optimistic about this season because, this happens. And, there's a guy who's coached adversity. Coaches talk about it all the time, overcoming adversity. You're going to experience it throughout a season.
As a coach, it happens. And if I'm a coach, I'm actually happy that it happened now. I got 17 weeks to figure this out. And my first conference game is what? I mean, my worst division game is what, week 7, week 8?
They got it. They got a little while. I didn't pull up the schedule, but they got a little while.
You've got time to sort this out. No one who really knows you don't play for a while. So you got time. It's patience. Patience.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Bengals in week 7.
First team they really play.
Yeah. First division game. Yeah.
They got time.
You got time. Hey, I'm with it. So, hey, look, if you're out there and you're a little down in the dumps, feeling a little bummed about what's going on, hey, number one, football is back. So, I mean, if that don't get you excited, just in general, just for GP, I don't know what I can't help you with that. I mean, I'm excited just to be sitting here watching NFL football, a real, game that counts, right? In the standings. So I'm excited just for that. And it's the Ravens coming back, and it's Monday night, and it's Lamar. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm hey, prayers up to those guys and speedy recovery for sure. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited. And I think we're gonna see a fun game on Monday night. So look, we're gonna come back into a post-game show next week. It's a Monday night game. So, maybe we end up doing it Tuesday or whatever. When it's a regular Sunday game, it'll shift, and we'll probably try to do those on Mondays after the game. But this one might be Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. But hey, man, we both got families. We got kids. Both my kids just started school this week. I got a first-time high schooler, and still got one in elementary school. And like I was telling you the other day, his first day was yesterday. It's a fight on the first day of school. He wasn't involved. Because he was like, hey, I stay in my lane. I don't get caught up in that. but it was a fight on the first day of school. So welcome to high school. Welcome
2021.
2021. Welcome to high school. But anyway, hey, we're gonna get back to you guys next week. We'll do that post-game review show, like I just said. And hey, as usual, like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter. I'll put that in the show description like I always do, put our Twitter accounts out there so people can interact with us that way. And hey, man, just get excited. Ravens football is back. Get excited, right? And we will get it, y'all, next week.